nailed that.
Oh my God. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Tattoo Homewreckers. My name is Callista, and this is
Lou.
And we are a podcast that talks about tattoos, life, and everything in between. I don't know why. I feel like it's been forever since I've done the intro.
It has been forever.
I forgot a little bit. Hey, Happy New Year's, you guys. Oh my gosh. I think our last episode, we talked about all the New Year's traditions we were going to do, and mission update, it was successful. We did a lot. I almost choked on the grapes because Caboose picked the largest grapes for me to scarf down, and I was going a little bit too fast because I was like, if we just chew and swallow, it's fine. And I had probably half of a grape lodged in my throat for a little bit, but I got it down. We're good. Yeah.
Yeah. And also 3 grown adults, one of which being a 250-pound man, 15, not 50, before he gets insulted, was a lot underneath our dining room table.
Yeah.
So.
And he took the slowest time eating the grapes.
Yeah. And he got himself the smallest grapes. I got big grapes because I was like, delicious.
Yeah, you wanted grapes that look good.
And then I realized at my 10th grape that I was like, oh, you should get smaller grapes because you're supposed to eat these 12 grapes in 12 seconds.
Yeah.
That didn't happen.
At one point in time, you guys were making me laugh, and it was a choking hazard. Definitely. Yeah. So
I was also choking. So.
Yeah. Apparently on TikTok, it's a trend. So we were under the assumption, we did a little bit of research, and it's supposed to just bring in fortune. You know, it's like a wish for So the 12 grapes represents the 12 months out of the year. So every grape that you eat, you're supposed to wish on a month. And I just collectively used all of my wishes for one thing. But apparently on TikTok, you're supposed to find your soulmate this year if you do that. And
look, I don't believe that TikTok shit because they make up all sorts of shit.
Well, yeah.
You thought twin flames were a brother-sister situation because of TikTok.
Well, yeah. So I think it's supposed to be oh my God, the twin flames cult. But people are under the assumption that your twin flame is, I guess in this cult, your soulmate. But I was always under the assumption that your twin flame, you guys were never meant to be together. They're two platonic souls aligned.
Look it up. That's what it is. It is your soulmate. So I think that sometimes TikTok do be lying.
I think all the time TikTok do be lying.
So it's not, because what? I'm supposed to find who? I've already found my people.
I haven't. I'm kidding. I found my soulmates. I found my village. I just haven't found my romantic soulmate yet. Oh, relax. What was your favorite New Year's tradition?
Maybe you have found your romantic soulmate. Maybe it's waffles.
Oh, God.
Our dog, not a stack of waffles. That would be weird.
I don't condone bestiality.
I just pictured you walking down the aisle.
With a stack of
waffles.
Solid wedding.
Yeah.
Solid wedding.
That's what, I'm just here for your wedding.
You just want me to get...
Yeah, I just need a wedding. I need something else to plan because we don't have enough to plan in our lives.
Oh, my God. We are some crazy ass planners. Did you want to tell them? Oh, I should start this off. No, I'm gonna ask it now.
Wait.
Question: what was your favorite New Year's tradition that we did?
Okay, probably just because I really liked how excited Caboose got. The jumping really high. Caboose was so excited to jump high, and then the fact that he put a fucking our ladder over our back fence so he could go out the back door and not have to go through the garage.
Yeah.
To come through the front door. And he got so excited to be the first foot that yeah. I mean, I probably would be excited, but I was the exact opposite where it was it can't be a blonde-haired, pale female.
That was part of the requirements. It could not be you.
Yeah. But it described him to a T, so he got really excited about that. So probably that. Because he's usually not big on those kind of things. Totally. And the fact that he fully leaned in, and I would say those were my favorite.
Absolutely, I agree.
But probably also overall, because it's the first New Year's that I haven't been sad.
Me too.
That we had so much fun going and we were on a mission and all day I was super happy. And replacing that fucking sad New Year's song, even though I do love it because it is really pretty. But the whole point of the song is to me sad, nostalgic. Mm-hmm. So to change that with Dancing Queen, way better.
And
way
then
better
realizing the lyrics of Dancing Queen were a little bit fucked.
Oh yeah, but that's what makes it great. Because I think all music back then was kind of fucked, which is entertaining. That now they're music these days is bad.
Totally. I think my favorite tradition was definitely Medianoche. So that midnight feast.
Wait, I'm sorry. Did somebody ask you?
Oh, bitch. I have to ask myself. Thank you very much. I'm asking myself. Mine was, you can't cut your noodles. So you make a noodle dish, and we made midnight spaghetti. And no cutting of the noodles. None
That
of
was dope. I did appreciate being able to eat, like, I got to eat at, like, 8 when you were cooking, and then I got to eat again at midnight.
Amazing. That's typically how it goes.
Yeah, I very much appreciated that. And then we just spent the next day just, like, chilling and hanging out. It was just a good, chill day.
It was definitely one of the best New Year's I've ever had. It was way better than Chicago, which, like, is supposed to be. So we went out last year in this huge, like, ballroom bash. Like, it was supposed to be, like, you know, very formal attire, tuxes and evening gowns and all that stuff. And, like, the food there was awful. It was so bad.
It was really bad. They had, like, they were microwaving, like, hors d'oeuvres.
Yeah, and I was just so...
It was terrible.
And, oh, mind you, it was in the hotel that inspired The Shining, though. So that was really cool. But because we were in the hotel that inspired The Shining, it was haunted AF. There's one of the rooms is sealed off, doesn't have a number on it anymore, and doesn't have a door handle. So you can't even go in there because of all the haunted activity. So,
and then my phone disappeared for a while.
Oh, yeah. And then naturally...
we had to go search for it, but then it doesn't make any sense because I specifically remember having it, like, when we were downstairs and...
Like, we're just now entering and getting drinks and stuff, and
And then all of a sudden, I was like, dude, where's my fucking phone? And then it was randomly up in the room.
Right.
It was so fucking weird.
Yeah, no, that was super strange. And like, it was just New Year's to me always makes me feel like a concept. I don't feel like a person on New Year's. It feels very sad. So it was one of the best New Year's that I've ever had.
And then you got to watch your first fucking movie of the year.
Oh my God. What was it called?
Children of Men.
Children of Men.
With Clive Owen.
Chives. That was the first movie of the year. That was what we picked, and I've never seen Children of Men. And let me tell you what, that fucking movie was absolutely ridiculous. It was insanely stressful, and it was crazy because the points in time where you did feel at peace, you felt so good. You were like, oh, I love these characters, and then you were just thrown right back into action. You had maybe 30 seconds of rest per, like, stressful activity.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy fucking movie.
So good. I think, but it's nice to show you, like, the movies that, like, the movies that raised me and the movies I grew up on in my young 20s. So that way when I'm like, I don't know, this movie is boring, and you're like, how is this movie boring? It's so suspenseful. And then to be like, oh, because I'm used to, like the entire thing, you're hanging outside of a helicopter type of, like, movie where you're just threshold for, like, stress is so high. So then when I watch, like, a movie that you consider to be, like, crazy for nowadays, I'm like, I don't know, this is kind of boring though, right? Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a really good movie. And also, shout out to my Last of Us fans. Definitely Last of Us got a lot of those themes. It's the same thing. Apocalyptic, man has to, escort a woman. She's the savior of humanity. Like, it's like so on brand, and it was so cool watching it. And that movie too is filmed like a video game, so that was really sick. And you were telling me that it's like the first of its kind, and where it's like it truly felt like you were there with them, kind of thing. And I was like, oh my God, such a good movie. So if you haven't seen Children of Men and you like The Last of Us, chances are you'll really like Children of Men. So go and watch it.
Also, Clive Owen, so good.
Chives Owens. So good. Amazing.
Yeah. That poor man had to do that fucking film with no shoes.
Oh my
God.
Just
flip-flops.
There's a point in time where he has to wear flip-flops to a literal active, like,
Warzone.
It's so funny.
Yeah. It's great.
Poor guy.
It's so good.
Yeah, really good.
And then we realized that it was the first movie of the year because we just spent the day relaxing, watching movies, like answering emails. Like, it was solid.
It was great. Yeah. And relaxing is a theme that we're trying to work on this year.
Yeah.
Would you like to tell them about the...
Okay, so here's the deal. I'll put a link to the, like, page because she sent me a real story, whatever, some social media shit this morning about a cactus account. And I'm pretty sure it's meaning to be kind of weirdly phallic, but in, like, a funny, cute, charming way. But it's this cactus, and he's super old. He's like 40 years old. This lady rescues it. I say that in quotations because I don't know how you rescue a cactus because it's a cactus. He's doing cactus things.
His owners didn't want him anymore. That's why.
Well, they were an older couple, so they were like, bro, we're going to die. We don't want our cactus to die with us.
Yeah, and it was like pretty hefty by the time.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
So he has like not flowered, and he just looks kind of sad, and he's like leaning. He's very much like wants leaning to be over. And then she like builds him a little fucking thing so he can just be fully lying down. And then finally he flowers. And so I want to tell people to ask themselves when you're trying to push through. I'll give you a side backstory on this. But when you're trying to push through, when you're tired and you're like, dude, I'm going to get this thing done. Are you indeed in need of being a lying down cactus?
Right.
Are you trying to be a standy-uppy cactus and you're meant to be a lying down cactus? And I think the moral of the story is that if you lie down and rest for a bit, you can come up with your best work.
Yeah.
Because he never flowered because he was putting all his energy into standing up. And you're maybe not meant to be a standy-uppy cactus. You're meant to be a lie-down cactus.
Yeah, I would just love to touch on the fact that I love that this woman built him his own special bed. So that way he could just lie down. She's like, I mean, fine. If you want to lie down, maybe that's what you want.
Because she understood the importance of rest in order to create and bloom.
Very cute. Yeah. Very pertinent. And I just sent it because I thought it was cute. So.
Yeah. And then I, of course, had to find deeper meaning because I was like, oh, this is literally you last night trying to push through because we're planning this big birthday bash. But trying to be you'd rested a little bit, but not sufficiently. And then you were trying to push through, and you're like, dude, I just can't. I'm so I'm trying so hard to get this done. And you were feeling bad about yourself. And now we know it's because you were not done being a lying down cactus.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
You tried to fucking bloom and there was nothing to bloom because all your energy needed to be lying down.
No, that's fair. Rest is definitely one of those things that I'm trying to work on. I think you've gotten a lot better. You've made some strides. I definitely am still in the space of I will take a nap, and then the second I'm done napping, I wake up and I get hit with this wave of guilt of okay, I wake up and then I'm motivated to do stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my entire to-do list, right? And then the second I sit down to do one of those things on the to-do list, I can't do it because I don't have the energy for it. And then comes a wave of guilt. So then I feel super mega guilty because I'm like, well, I already rested. It doesn't make any sense. I should be able to go head first into my to-do list and be hella productive and blah, 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 blah. But then we realized, I'm just meant to be a lying down cactus in this moment. And I can't bloom just yet because I'm forcing myself to stand up when I'm not ready.
Yep. We've been talking, I think we talked a little bit about it here is that because we're always go, 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 go. And we have really small periods of time when
we're like the movie Children of Men. That's our life. We've started to when we get stuck places, we'd always be sorry, I got stuck. And now we try not to apologize because we're oh, I'm on a charging port. And I think for me, because you talk so much about being a robot, forgetting that robots indeed need to charge. True. There's
and
no
that's
way
where
it.
I've been trying to get better at that by being look, I'm not done charging. And just I want to take my phone off a charger at 25% and be fuck it, it'll last me all day. It simply won't. So now I kind of think about that for myself when it comes to creativity and just getting things done is that if I don't charge to 100%, it's bad for my battery. If I'm just constantly going on and off a charger, I need to fully recharge. And also, I can't expect my phone to be able to last all day of collecting content. Not I collect content. I don't do that shit. But if I were to take it to a theme park and I wouldn't be mad at my phone for dying when I didn't charge it last night. So it's the same thing with ourselves is that I've kind of adopted your idea of we're robots. But I'm but also we need to charge.
Yes. It is very
And sleeping
important.
is not charging enough. That's one small part of charging, but part of it is the creative charging of watching movies to be inspired, listening to music, doing things that are not designed to be productive is indeed productive because that's actually charging to your little robot self.
Well, yeah, we gosh, you were telling me last night, you're like, oh, well, you know what, it's not productive for our event. But I was able to, actually organize my closet and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, it's still productive for our event because if you think about it, when you do this for your brain is still a huge part of the event.
Yep.
It's an integral part of this.
And it's sweeping the parking lot the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Every time I saw the parking lot, because we have a bunch of leaves outside, which is hilarious because our landlord gets hella pissed that we don't have any trees in our parking lot, but all of our neighbors have trees and they all pile up in our parking lot. Yeah, their parking lots, not messy or dirty. Ours, all the leaves go there.
Yeah.
So I swept up all the leaves, knowing that I wanted to get them done before the first snow, which props to me. Thank God that happened.
Crushed it, yeah.
But then every time I would walk outside, not only am I happy because our clients know that, hey, we take care of our parking lot and we're clean. And it really builds that experience of look, I care enough about the parking lot So you don't have to worry about your fucking tattoo. But also it helps like refuel me to then be like, oh, I have a beautiful clean space. And the same thing happens with like why last night I emptied out my junk drawer and I was like, I'm going to tidy and organize all this. And like, I'm really, I won't say bad, but I have a habit of like, I squirrel stuff a lot. So like, if you open my like drawers in our dresser, there's snacks and shit in there. And just like with your pantry, you have to go through and clear out snacks. I have to do the same thing with my clothes drawers. Is that like, oh, that chocolate's kind of old. I need to throw that away. Or like this bag of chips is not looking so good. Yeah. Yes, there's chocolate and chips in my clothes drawer.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I have like full on fucking snacks in there.
Squirrel away. I think it's important. I've got plenty of snacks in my room too, which is why I keep my room closed. Poor Bailey is not allowed in there. But she's really cute because when I do my makeup, she'll like kind of sit at the door frame until I invite her in. She's like a little vampire.
Yeah. Because she knows. She's like, I don't want to get in trouble, but also I want to come hang out with you.
Yeah, it's so
and
cute.
scope out the snacks.
Yeah, she knows exactly what snacks I have in there, I'm sure. Yeah, no, it's still good for your brain. So yeah, I guess my robot analogy doesn't work because I am constantly being like, I just wish I was a robot and I didn't have to feed myself and I didn't get tired. But robots get tired too, so it really defeats the purpose of my analogy.
Yeah, they've got to fucking charge. They've got to like have that downtime so that way they can do their little robot brain processing.
Yeah, I think it's just like, it's this eternal battle that I have. It's so hard, like, being inside this human body and knowing that, like, we are so intrinsically connected and that we need to rest, you know what I mean? I have this weird separation between my brain and my body. And I think that's normal for a lot of people, but, like...
Yeah.
Ugh.
I'm excited to see what happens with you when we do move to New Zealand, because culturally they're a lot more about play and rest.
Yeah.
To get out of the like American like grind of like, here, if you're not producing, then you're not doing.
Then you're useless.
Yeah. Then what's the point of you?
Worthless.
If you're not always trying to earn the most amount of money or work the most amount of hours, what's the point of you?
Totally. Yeah.
And obviously we both have that like, because of that cultural side, also because of like our family of origins, and then just because of like previous workplaces where like we were, all of our value was put on the amount we could produce.
Absolutely.
And now it's hard because we're producing for ourselves. So we're also excited to be like, oh my God, we can do all these things. But forgetting that like we indeed need rest.
I know. That is an integral part, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
which brings me on to the next subject.
Yeah.
What is love to you? Y'all, I've been fucking talking about this so much.
Yeah, you wanted to speak about that for a second.
Because, you know, for anyone who's listened for any period of time, Caboose and I are in couples therapy. Highly recommend it. The best thing ever. Eventually, I want us to be able to go to couples counseling. No, we're not a couple, but I'm really interested to see like what kind of like communication issues we have that we can then work on to like have a deeper understanding. Yeah. And Esther Perel does her podcast, How's Work, where she has people who like own businesses together and work together. And then they like, she does a counseling session with them to help them have like better communication.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
And so I think about that a lot is like, oh, but what areas am I not like showing up for you? Like just unknowingly.
Right.
And Caboose and I have been talking a lot about, I guess I'll give like a little bit of a backside like story on it, is that we've been talking a lot about our different definitions because like with me being neurospicy, I am a very literal person. I'm still really sarcastic. I know I'm funny. I get all that shit. But I'm like, that right there, very literal. Like, I know that I'm funny. End story.
End statement.
Yeah, just done. But I've realized through us, like, talking about things, especially in, like, heteronormative relationships, we don't have to define things because that is what's seen as, like, the typical standard thing. So you think, like, I'll just go really extreme right now. You think of, like, intercourse, you think of sex being just penetrative sex. So it's the same thing with like how we fall into these roles based on gender when you're in a like heteronormative relationship. So it means that we don't sit down and have the same level of communication. It's why you and I have better communication because we sit down and go, wait, what does that mean to you? What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
And part of that is like our communication, and part of that's because I can just ask you and then you'll spend time to think about it. Whereas like for our relationship, for the majority of our relationship, whenever I'd ask him his question, he wasn't sure. He'd be like, I don't know. And then it would just like end conversation.
Right.
And now part of like what we've been discussing in therapy is that when he says, I don't know, and just stops there, it's a form of stonewalling. And part of it is, yes, he doesn't know, but also it's that follow through of like, bro, you got to think about it and circle back and answer.
Can you, before we before you go too ahead, can you tell the viewers what stonewalling is?
So
Really fast?
stonewalling is when it's exactly what it sounds like. It's creating a wall between you and the other person. It can come in a large variety of ways, and that can be like literally just, I'm not talking to you about this. You can typically see, like, if you're a really observant person, you can see like that kind of like glossed over look. It's what, when she gets really tired, it's the same thing. Like her brain just shuts down. But that's that form of stonewalling that she's not intentionally doing it. She's not like, okay, fucking done with this conversation. I don't want to hear you. And it's a form of self-protection. But in her case, it's because she'll work herself to the point of like absolute exhaustion. And then I used to be like, oh my God, she just doesn't fucking care. She's just like glossed over. But really, it's just because she's exhausted and her brain is like, I cannot take in any more information. But in relationships, it can happen if you don't feel safe. And I'm not saying this is purely on you or purely on your partner. You have to do your own work. But it's a form of self-protection where we basically wall ourselves off. And that can come in the form of silent treatment. That can come in the form of just simply saying, I don't know to any question, just not answering questions. Like, it just comes in this way of like a means to protect yourself.
Yeah, you're quite literally isolating yourself emotionally from that person, which makes the other person also feel isolated.
And you can also, like, in this case, like, because when you wall things off like that, when you wall off, like, hard topics, you're walling everything off, which we've talked about that before, because Brene talks about that in the fact of, like, once you start closing up windows in your house, and your house is, like, you as a person, you start closing that up, you close off every opportunity for deeper connections.
Yep.
So Caboose would just say, I don't know. And then I didn't know how to, like, get that information from him. So then I was just like, okay, I'm not going to ask. So we talked about this whole, like, how he has a really hard time planning dates because he has a fear of, like, what if it's not good enough? And so then he would not do it. And then I realized that, like, I just was like, you know what is a date to you? Because, like, you have a lot of pressure on dates. And, like, I don't know what a date is to you. And for him, he said, anytime that we are alone, like, together, that's a date. So, like, if we watch a movie on the couch, that's a date. And so there was a lot of times that were basically misconnections where I was like, okay, I personally don't think that's a date. Like, just because we're watching TV together and we're by ourselves is not a date. Like, it doesn't deepen my connection. It doesn't, like, enrich, like, our relationship to me. But that meant that every time that I felt neglected, we were just missing each other. So we've been going through, and then that, of course, stems out into the rest of my relationships. Oh, I just spit everywhere.
I didn't notice.
But we have been going through this process of, like, okay, defining these things. Like, what is a date to you? Because for me, a date is something where you've, like, intentionally put thought into. And then props to me, because then our fucking therapist defined what a date was. And she was like, it's an intentional act. And I was like, yeah, what? That's what I think of as a date. I'm like, motherfucker, what? But it meant that, like, inadvertently, he was hurting me and by proxy hurting us just because we had a different definition on this. So I started thinking about what is love. And then that's what I want to kind of talk about for, like, the rest of our time today.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll spiral into other stuff. Just because I realized that, like, you and I haven't, and I want to do it with all of our friends, is, like, what is love to you? Like, what is your earliest memories of love? What era? Yeah. So we're going to just start with what is love?
Just all-encompassing.
All-encompassing. We'll get more detailed.
Okay. I think love to me it's the intention with effort being followed with it. Because I really do think that, like, love is intention and love, but is more importantly is effort. Because there's this one scene where this lady, I don't even know what show this is from, but she talks about, like, okay, so you say that you love me, but I can't do anything with those words. Like, I don't feel the love around me, so it doesn't even exist. And to me, I really do think that love is paying attention to things. It is considering someone. It is making room for that person to be seen and heard and not just exist in your life, but thrive in your life. Love is support to me as well. And love is also accountability. So it's complicated, right? It's for so many aspects of it. I think it's hard for me to come up with, like, a simple definition. But yeah, I really do think that love is this, like, it's a conscious effort to be able to have another person in your life thrive in it. Yeah. That's what I think love is.
I love that.
What do you think love is?
I think that explains why we have like, I hate to say easy because obviously we're constantly like working on
like compatible.
Yeah, yes. So like a really compatible relationship because my definition of love and your definition of love are very similar. That like to me it is that intentional act of giving somebody space to grow and helping facilitate that growth.
I love that.
So like that to me is like that like kind of love in like a little small capsule is like I see because I love you, my role in your life is to support you. Not to take things from you, but literally to be there as like okay, if you fall, I can help like soften the landing, but you're meant to fall. So it's just like to provide support when needed, but otherwise to also provide like that little extra push to be like, you got to do hard shit too.
Absolutely.
Because it's to facilitate your personal growth.
Yes.
And that's how I see like love.
It's
is
that accountability.
Yes.
Right? Because like you can also just say that love is support, but then people will turn it around back at you. It's like, well, why don't you support me when I decide that I don't want to go to the gym today? And it's like, okay, but it's also accountability because I remember you telling me that you wanted to go to the gym more often. So that's part of what love is.
Well, I think that's the case of like knowing somebody's actual values.
Yeah.
Because then I'm supporting you not in the comfort of like right now, because that would be enabling.
Yes, there's a difference between love and enabling.
Yes. And then support is saying, hey, I know that fitness and that like health is a really important thing for you. Therefore, I want to like support those things and not just support. I know right now you want to eat 4 cheese pizzas.
Yeah.
And like not get off the couch for a week. But is that going to help you in the long run? Are you going to feel good when we're done with that?
Yeah. Is your body going to feel good? Is your brain going to feel good? Like, let's think about like the bigger picture too. And I think love is also being able to, again, think about the bigger picture. Think about like years down the line. It's not just like what that person wants in that moment. So there is a huge difference between loving someone and enabling someone. Same as there's a huge difference between like supporting someone, but like also giving them room to thrive in their own sense in your life as well. Because you can't always like, don't get me wrong, I think it's important that you're the main character in your own life. But when it starts to trample onto other people's like thriving, there's a little bit of an issue there too.
Yeah.
It's complicated, but yeah, I can't think of like a capsule statement, but yeah, no, that was great.
Okay. And then what's your earliest memory?
My earliest
of feeling loved.
Earliest memory of feeling loved, I would have to say definitely at my grandma Anita's house. I would be dropped off all the time
I love that.
to go and like spend the day with her. And she would just let me play out in the garden outside. I'm getting emotional talking about this. And it was just that house has a lot of sunlight, just emotionally for me, because I feel like I could just like be a kid there, you know? But yeah, that would be my earliest memory of love. How about you?
I think for me, it would be like the thing that keeps coming up is my dad coming home from work and like the hug he would give because he'd like pick me up because my dad was a big man. There's a reason why I married a big man. Whatever. Not getting into it. But yeah, it was like the feeling of like him picking me up and like hugging me.
Yeah.
And you could just feel that love like there where it was just like.
It's the reciprocation, right?
Yeah.
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 No, definitely. I'm still crying. I knew that was going to be a tough question.
Then, what does love look like when you are being shown love?
When I'm being
like when someone love. Like what makes you now like now feel like you feel loved?
When people ask me questions, when I tell my story and people don't just like kind of gloss over it, you know what I mean? Like if I'm being vulnerable with someone and I'm saying that like, hey, I'm really struggling with this, or like, hey, that really hurt my feelings when you did that. Love to me feels like that person setting aside their own stuff for just a brief moment and taking time to just hear my hear me, you know? That's what love feels like to me. What does love feel like to you?
wait. I got one more follow-up question to that.
Okay.
And then what is it like for you? Like, what does it feel like, or what actions when you are showing love? Like, describe how you show love. Yeah. So we got how you receive love.
Yes.
How do you show love?
I think I show love by remembering things that this person may have said in passing before. Sometimes I'll write down notes like, oh shoot, this is a good idea. Maybe we should like do this and save this for so-and-so's birthday or Christmas or whatever. I think for me, it's also, for me, it's taking the time out of my day to also just tell someone like, hey, I miss you. Or, hey, I don't know, how's your day today? For me is also a way that I show love because I'm genuinely interested in knowing how their everyday works or whatever. Yeah, I think that's how.
Now, do you think there's a difference in how you receive love, like what it is that makes you feel loved, and how you show love?
No, I think they're very similar.
They're very similar for you?
Yeah, I think they're really they're very intertwined. I think. I don't know. Now I'm questioning. Maybe. I feel like they're intertwined. I feel like they're a little bit different. The way that I receive love is also hard. That's also a complicated one for me because it is really intense. And we talked about it a little bit privately. I don't think we've talked about it on the podcast where your feelings on your birthday are complicated.
Yes.
My feelings around being seen and being loved are also really complicated. They can get really overwhelming for me really fast. So if someone right out the gate shows me a lot of love, I actually get into this state of feeling suspicious towards them, which is really hard, but I've been working on it.
Well, I mean, that to me makes sense because this is going to fucking piss a bunch of people off. You can't love someone right out the gate. That's infatuation. It takes time for love to grow.
Yeah.
And so when somebody that's why they call it love bombing. When they're love bombing you in the very beginning, then that you rightfully should be suspicious.
Okay, great.
That's a good instinct to have because that's part of that cycle of abuse is that we come out the gate, love bomb the shit out of you, and then it's that whole breadcrumb situation. I give you so much love, and then typically it'll get pulled back. Very few times does that love bombing continue to then happen for long periods of time, and that's when it's that genuine. But in the beginning, that isn't love that they're showing you. That's infatuation.
No, that's an excellent point.
I think that's a great
It was funny because I was thinking about one of my exes that I got super mega I just felt fight or flight all the time, so I would just be drinking a lot to kind of numb that out. So yeah, that's an excellent point. Yeah. Love bombing is also, follow your suspicion if you feel a little bit suspicious, but it's hard. I don't know. It's complicated. Yeah. I think they're intrinsically intertwined.
And then I just want to add in that it's okay if you're fuck, I don't know how I receive love. I don't know how I give love. I think that to me is the importance of this conversation. I want to have this conversation with the rest of our friends to make sure that everyone feels loved because how I show love is a little bit different. And I'll go into that in a second for anyone who fucking cares. But really, I wanted to just express because for Caboose who hasn't tapped into these sides of himself, it's been really hard for him to be okay, how do I what is love? How do I express love? That's a little easier for him than being yo, what's how do you receive love? And I think that it's really normal to if you don't sit with those questions to just be oh, I don't know. And then they're hard questions or uncomfortable questions. Yeah. So to then just be fuck it, I don't have to worry about that. But I think that it can deepen relationships if you know how someone feels about those things. So it's the same as that the emotions around my birthday are super complicated because on one side I want to be celebrated and I want to feel special and I want to feel people care. But on the other side, it goes against that self-protection of being okay, just expect nothing because if you expect nothing then you won't be disappointed, right? Which in and of itself is quite daft because in all actuality you're disappointed sitting in that place of expecting nothing. And I think a lot of people sit in that as a form to protect themselves, so I'd rather just preemptively feel disappointed and pain than have that hope and then it not work out. And I think that that's the importance of having these conversations around okay, so how can and that's leads me to my last question, which is how can I love you better?
Oh.
Like, for you, how can I love you better? Like, what are areas that I'm missing that you're like, oh man, this would help me feel more loved in like specific times or just overall?
I guess the questions thing is a big one for me. So if I go out, and like I don't see you guys for a minute, and I ask you how your guys' day went, I would like to also be asked how mine went.
See, and I get weird about asking, like, when you go out, like, oh my gosh, like, how was it? Did you have fun? Because I get so weirded out that I'm like, I hope she doesn't think of me as, like, her mom right now, being like,
no.
Did you have a good time with your friends? How was your time? What are you doing?
Well,
what did you, and, like, to feel like parental in that time where I'm like, you're an adult. I just want you to go out and have fun.
No, there's I would say 9 times out of 10 I want to info dump on you on like what I had just like what interactions I just
That's good, because now I know that I'm not going to be like, I'm not trying to be a parent to be like, no, tell me what you did this evening.
Also, okay, here's the thing, like I think that's why I like it a lot is because like I didn't get a lot of that. It was more so like, hey stranger, haven't seen you, and like that's not even asking me how my event went.
I don't know why people do that shit. Like, if I haven't seen you in a while, or like if I've been out or you missed me, don't guilt me. My fucking family would do that too. They would be like, oh, nice to finally see you, haven't heard from you in a while, and I'm like, that doesn't make me feel like I want to fucking talk to you.
I don't know either. It's got to be some like antiquated like generational thing, because it's hard. They didn't have the information that we have today as far as emotional intelligence goes. But yeah, I really do agree with you where it's like the easiest way to get me to not speak to you is guilting me.
Yes.
For having space, for needing that space, for needing, you know.
And I think I sometimes don't ask questions because I want you to know that you're allowed to have like whole parts of your life I know nothing about.
That makes sense.
But then also I can see where that would lead you into a place of like, oh, you don't care. Because that's how I feel when people don't ask me questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Okay, great. Now you get to answer these horrible questions.
Do you remember what the questions are?
Yeah, so okay, did we already do that earliest? We did. It was, how do you feel love when it's being shown to you? Is that the first one you asked after that? Okay.
So, okay.
I butchered that.
Love being shown to me feels like, and obviously I live with people who acts of service is like your biggest thing. And I feel really guilty because I am not. I fucking,
don't feel guilty.
I don't even think about it. Like, you guys, they get up and they're like, do you want anything? And I'm like, oh yeah, or no. And I literally never asked this question. And last night I got up and I got myself a snack and I sat back down and I was like, fuck.
You are good.
Fuck. I just don't even think about it because acts of service is not like in my brain as a way to like.
That's never on my radar. I never see you get up and then see you sit back down and go, wow, she did not. I never do that. It's not even on my radar. So
it's something I'm currently working on. So that way I can be like, look, I care that you guys have drinks and snacks. I just never fucking like genuinely don't think about it. Well, and I'm like, wow, you're so selfish, bro. You're literally just like,
it's not your language. Snack. It's not your go-to, you know? So that makes sense.
But it is something I'm working on. I did ask the other day, just not yesterday or the day before that, or I asked like a week ago. So a week ago, I asked you if you wanted anything. That should be good enough, right?
Period.
I'm good for the whole year.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so sorry, I got distracted. My phone just like lit up with a phone call, and that's weird because I don't get phone calls.
That is weird. You want to check it out?
Yeah, okay, I have to check it.
I'll keep people entertained.
Yeah, you keep them entertained.
God, I am a weepy bitch. You guys ever think about how much you cry? I cry a lot. I love crying. I love it.
I think it's great. I mean, didn't you have a therapist that was like, it's good for you to like normalize hot girls crying?
She, so it wasn't hot girls, but she was like,
the same thing to me.
Cool girls. She's like, you're a cool girl. And like, it's awesome that you cry a lot. And I was like, oh my God.
See, and I think for me, that language is interchangeable because I think of cool girls as also being hot.
Yeah.
I'm not talking like aesthetically, like, oh, just because you're like out externally beautiful. Like, to me, cool girls are like women that feel confident, or just people that feel confident, really.
Yeah. And chances are you're hot because it's the confidence.
Yes. And that's what makes you hot. That's why like specific like actors, you're like, when I look at them aesthetically, they would not be deemed as like attractive.
Yeah.
But then you like see them move and you see them talk and you're like, dude, why are you so attractive? Yeah. And it's because that confidence.
Oh, was it okay? Is your phone okay? You doing okay?
Yeah, it's some random thing.
Okay, great. Anyways.
So I just had to make sure. But yeah, like for me, receiving it is those like acts of care where it's like I don't have to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the biggest thing that I realized like through talking about this with Caboose was that if I have to ask for it, it doesn't feel like love. Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing with like the whole birthday trauma is asking for like people to like come and visit, asking for like attention to be made about it, asking for him to take me on a date. Like the moment I ask, it doesn't feel like love. It feels like obligation and guilt.
Yeah.
And that's like how for me, like, and I'm trying to like unpack that, but genuinely the moment I ask, I don't want it anymore. Mm-hmm. And I know for a lot of people, that's a message that they're going to be like, well, people aren't mind readers. But that's for me what love is love is taking note of like, hey, like you mentioned, oh, my coffee cup got cold. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, I have a solution for that. So it's finding solutions for people. We have a little coffee cup warmer. Mm-hmm. And I went and grabbed that and then just plugged it in and I didn't have to ask. And then that's like where, not to keep putting Caboose in my relationship like out in fucking public, mm-hmm. but it's the easiest way to explain it because I feel like we go through a lot of stuff that other marriage and relationships go through. Mm-hmm. And it's that for him, he wants that reassurance of asking permission beforehand. Yep. But then the moment he asks me permission, so he'd be like, oh, can I do this? And I'm like, it's not special.
Right.
I want you to, that's that whole idea of I want you to want to do it. Mm-hmm. That classic fight from,
oh God,
Vince Vaughn and Jennifer Aniston,
yeah, mm-hmm,
where he's like, why would I want to do the dishes? And I was like, I want you to want to do the dishes. Mm-hmm. So that way you're like, hey, I know that she enjoys a clean kitchen. Mm-hmm. I want to keep and participate in this. So that's what it is it's those like things. And that's what like Caboose is great at when I'm like, oh, I have these ideas for the business. And then he just does it. Mm-hmm. But it's those things where I'm like, I don't want to ask you for a birthday party. I don't want to ask you mm-hmm. to take me out on a date. I want you to just do that. And so love to me is those invisible little acts of service mm-hmm. that don't involve me questioning or asking.
Yep.
Because to me, like the moment, and this comes from my childhood trauma, is the moment you ask, then I am obligated to you.
Absolutely. So now it's like, oh God, like mm-hmm. you're almost finding yourself in this like role reversal.
Yeah.
Where it's like, oh great, now I'm essentially the abuser by asking, and now I'm guilting you into doing this for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
so it feels like guilt to me if I have to ask you to do something. Absolutely. I'm like, nope, I would rather just do it myself or do without, because if I ask you for it, then A, I owe you, mm-hmm. and or at very least I owe you that same thing back.
Yeah.
Or you are doing it out of obligation and guilt because you feel bad that you didn't do it beforehand. Which I think is a place where a lot of like heteronormal relationships end up.
Yeah.
Is that like, that's that whole thing of like, oh, now I'm a nag.
Yeah. And you find yourself in a cycle and it's like.
Yeah. And
spiraling.
So it's really hard because then for him, that's not like his definition of love. Mm-hmm. Whereas I'm like, and so we just had that conversation where I say, if I ask you, I don't feel loved.
Absolutely.
And he's like, okay, how do we get out of this? So I think that to me is like also why this topic was really important.
Yeah. 100%.
Was like having these hard conversations of like, okay, how can I make you feel loved?
Okay, well then when you show love, what actions does that look like for other people?
I show love in the same way that I want to receive love, mm-hmm. which is through these like invisible actions. Mm-hmm. So it's through, and it's through pushing people. Yep. So it's like, I know that we have a friend who has birthday trauma, mm-hmm. like myself, and I know that it's a super complicated fucking thing. Mm-hmm. And I threw like a kind of impromptu surprise birthday situation, knowing that like it would be safe because it would be like very few people, mm-hmm. but also knowing that in this same moment they would want to fucking punch me in the face mm-hmm. because it would shine a light on this like big wound, but knowing that we have space to circle back and be like, okay, you can hit me in the face. I totally understand. You can fucking yell at me. You can scream at me. You can feel whatever you feel about this. And if like you come back and you're like, hard no, don't do that again. Mm-hmm. Absolutely, I won't. But I will still keep trying to find like ways to like get inside of that armor that I too share around like, I don't want to do this.
Yep.
And so for me, it's like love, when I show it to people, it's the same thing as like pushing them to be like, yo, you got to work out. You got to work on mental health. You got to go to therapy. Like it's helping them improve mm-hmm. and like helping them feel safe in that. But always like, it's that fucking mother bird, baby bird situation where I'm like, bitch, you got to fly eventually.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm going to keep pushing you further out on that limb mm-hmm. and it's going to be scary and it's going to be gross mm-hmm. and you can fucking bite me if you want. You can fight me. Mm-hmm. And like at any point you can be like, nope, too much. And I'm like, okay, let's back it off for a minute.
Yep.
And then we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Because like that to me is love, is like how, like my role is to make your life comfortable by doing those invisible tasks. Like I'll just handle the laundry. I'll handle these things because I like for like those to just be like seen. So I like to do them like late at night when no one else can see it. And then you're like, ooh, it's a magically clean like house.
Or like your favorite practical joke, which is like, I don't know, doing something randomly nice that I said I was going to do.
Yes.
And then you've already done it in the dead of night. And then I wake up and I get mad at you. And then I go, thank you so much. Yeah.
It's so much.
I'm like, thank you so much. But also, what the fuck?
Because I love that. I love to be like, oh my God, I didn't have to worry about that. That's already sorted. That's off my to-do list.
Yep.
Nice.
So then, question, do you think the way that, well, I mean, you already said it, the way that you show love and the way that you feel love, do you think those are similar?
Yes, minus the like asking people if they want anything from the kitchen. I'm so bad.
That's not bad. It's okay.
It's so bad.
Yeah, I get it. If it makes you feel better, that's never on my radar. I'm never like that bitch didn't ask me.
I know, but wouldn't you feel more loved if I did? Because also when I remember and I'm like, oh, you want a drink? And then I feel so like happy to give you a beverage.
It is really
like to
sweet.
do those things. I feel really happy. And I just don't know where that guy's like missing. What? I think it's because like by the time I get myself a snack, I've like wanted one for so long that my brain is like in fight or flight of like, if you don't have this thing right now, you're going to die.
You're already.
Because it takes so much effort for me to get off the couch.
Lots of spoons.
Yeah.
There's a lot of spoons.
So much. If I have to like get up, I'm like, oh my God, I'm dying.
Okay. Next question.
Yes.
How can I show up better for you in order for you to feel more loved?
Ooh, I don't know.
I go, can I get you a cup of coffee? That's still asking permission. I have a cup of coffee underneath the table and I'm like,
how can I make you feel more love? Here is coffee. No, I don't know, because I think like for you and me, the areas that I feel like most loved is because we talk about stuff. So like if there's something scary happening, you're really good to be like, okay, do you need to know about this beforehand? Or do you want me to hold this? Like, so you'll hold the weight of things for me, but then you'll give me just enough because you know I have a lot of like anxiety around not knowing things. So you'll tell me just enough to appease me, but not enough to like ruin things.
Yep.
And so I think like that's probably the way I feel like most love with you. So I don't necessarily know that there's like a way of like that you could show me you love me more, because I feel pretty solidly like loved in our relationship, because I feel like I can just like blurt shit out and you're not like, oh my God, that was so rude, that was so mean. Like you give me a lot of grace in the fact that I'm fairly blunt.
Absolutely.
That like
That's one of my favorite things about you. I mean, don't get me wrong, sometimes I'm like, oh my God.
It's really bad, you guys.
Sometimes I'm like, holy fuck. But like for the most part, no, I don't think it's hard for people because people don't realize that they don't have to connect themselves with a opinion or like, I think a lot of the times people don't hang out with blunt people because they feel as if your opinion is a personal attack, but in all reality, it's just an opinion. It's just something that all opinions are something that exist outside of you. And although you can get your feelings hurt by an opinion, by trolls on the internet, by whatever, it still doesn't harm your body or I don't know. That's the way I dissociate from it. Not saying like I dissociate from you, but like if someone was mean to me on the internet, the way I dissociate from it is, well, I got a really great life and this person's opinion doesn't actually really affect my quality of life. Yeah. So I think I'm pretty cool.
I think for me, I love like differing opinions.
Yeah. It
like,
shows individuality.
One of my favorite things like about you is that I'm like, that movie's fucking trash. And you're like, I love that movie.
I'll stand my ground.
And it makes me be able to trust your yeses, trust your nos. And also because I love a good debate. Oh, that's probably actually how you can make me feel more loved is like debating.
Debate
more.
you.
Yes. Because I love a debate. I love when like two people dig their fucking heels in and like you're not trying to change this person's mind.
Yeah.
You're trying to see both sides, but both of you are like, this is my fucking thought process. This is your thought process. And then through like, not through name calling, not being like, well, you're stupid for liking this movie. Movies are the easiest way for me to get into like a massive debate.
Yeah.
But instead to be like, oh, I love that when people have completely different opinions, except for on like human rights.
Oh,
I'm not going there.
Yeah.
If you're a bad person, you're a bad person. Simple as that. If you're over there like, hey, people don't deserve human rights, I'm not debating that with you anymore. I will like try to have those conversations to illuminate people. But if it's something like music, and I'm like, I don't understand it, then, because usually if I don't like something, it's probably because I don't understand it. And that's usually the case with like most things that people don't like, is because they're missing some information about like what that's what ignorance is, you know?
Right.
So then I love when somebody can be like, oh, well, I like it because of X, Y, and Z. Because then it allows me to enjoy it through someone else's perspective. And so many things that I love is people's like their perspective on things. So it's like, do I think that death is super cool? Not particularly. Will I fucking talk about it with my clients who work in that field and it's fucking fascinating? Yes, because they love talking about it. Like for them, that is a passion. If someone's passionate about something, let's go. I can be like, fucking Hereditary sucks. Yeah. And then you're like, I loved Hereditary because X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, wow, those are great things. Like I missed those parts of it because I was too busy focusing on this one aspect. And you're like, yeah, just ignore that one part. Yeah. And the rest of it's great. And I'm like, damn, bitch, you right. Like I got stuck on that one area. And that's what I love is like when people can change my mind. Oh,
absolutely.
That's what feels like love to me. Is like you come in with like just enough like heels dug in, then I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's debate this shit.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it.
Good to know. I'll start more debates. The only reason why I don't is because I'm always like, oh fuck, here we go. Because you are exceptional at debates, and although it won't change my opinion, I'm still like, damn, I don't have all my facts straight. I'm like, I'm not ready for my presentation.
No, that's the best part. Is like, I don't know on that. Yeah, and because like. So many things that we debate aren't facts. They're just opinions.
True. That is true.
You know, it's like, I'm more excited to watch Hitman because like you were like, oh my God, Born Identity. This is just Hitman. And then of course Caboose is like, no, Hitman is like Born Identity. And for me, I'm like, oh wow, this is crazy. Because then I'm like, I understand Born Identity came first, but like the whole idea of like, I didn't know I was a fucking Secret Service agent, blah, blah, blah. The whole idea of that predates both Born Identity and Hitman. So, did Hitman take its idea from Born Identity, like Caboose is saying? Or, obviously, Hitman came after. But, or did they both use the same resource of, like, books and knowledge and then come out organically themselves? Yeah. And, like, that's what I like to do, is, like, sit in that place of, like, where does this, like, stem from?
That is the best part about watching, like, all of your favorite movies from when you were younger. Because now I get to see, like, it's weird. It's almost like the forensic files of the media that I consumed. Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. I'm getting to see, like, the hereditary, like, data passed from generation to generation. It's just so cool. Hitman is one of my favorite games.
And I think it's so easy to then just turn and be like, oh my God, movies nowadays suck. Like, I can get that place a lot where I'm, like, nostalgic for older films. But then to be able to also see it where you were like, damn, I wish we would have had, like, more on, like, the ending of Born Identity. And then I forgot what other thing we just watched. That was the same way. They just ended like that.
Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Same thing. Is it just was like, okay, so we went through all this. Okay, happy ending, done. Yeah, amazing. And it was like really interesting for me to be able to look at those movies, which I love, through your lens, to be like, you're right. Like at that point, that was the style of film that we did. Was
the
that,
pace
like,
is different?
Yeah, the pace is completely different. We go through this whole journey, and then you get 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes tops on the wrapping up portion of it, because they're like, who fucking cares? You were here for all this action. Happily ever after, done, end. And then, like, nowadays, we have a lot longer of that, like, time afterwards. So we get a lot more, like, closure and a lot more time. You have to kind of, like,
soak into it.
Yes. Yeah. And, like, that makes me then, where it's like, wow, I can watch these films with you and be like, oh, wow, I enjoy these, like, more. And I can see where you would be disappointed in that lack of that. So it's, like, this great because we talk about it and because we debate these things, that I get to appreciate a wider variety of things.
Yes.
Which I love, because I think it's really easy when you are like a really blunt person like myself, and I am a very literal person, for me to watch something once and be like, not good, and then just end there, which is probably why I also love the like debating aspect of it.
Yeah.
Is because I know that I could be like, don't like the taste of that, done. And then I could just end at that point. Like my brain would be, you know, like, all right, cool, never again. And that provides like safety. Whereas like for me, that challenge in life is being like, no, let me step outside of that bubble. Tell me your perspective. And then I get to like broaden my horizons.
Yeah.
But it means that I need people around me that love me enough to fucking stand up for themselves and be like, that's a stupid idea. And I'm like, oh, what?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
Or like, yeah. I think the trusting your yeses and trusting your nos is a really big part of love as well.
Yeah.
Because when you can't trust someone's yes to plans, it is really scary, because I like to say that like when people are people pleasers, they don't realize that they are being emotionally ingenuine to other people. And as a reforming people pleaser myself, like I also didn't realize the injustice I was doing to my relationships when I would just say yes or go with someone's plans or whatever, because I didn't want to like let them down per se. And there is still like, oh gosh, depending on the situation, it is really hard for me to still say no to people, but I've been getting a lot better. I'm a little bit awkward at it, but I've been getting a lot better. And people need to trust that you are emotionally genuine with them in order to build like a proper relationship, because a relationship that is built off of one person's needs or wants is not a relationship either. So in order to be more genuine, you do have to tell people no, and people need to trust that your yes is genuine and they're not just forcing you into stuff, because that's also a whole other thing. So
yeah.
Oh god.
Perfect. Well, I think that's a good
to wrap up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Question though, before we leave today, I got 2 questions. What does your gender feel like today?
I feel like a big, those Highland cows, the big fluffy ones, like a big Highland cow in like a beautifully tall, and like it's a sunny day, but it's like crisp outside and I'm just rolling in the grass.
That's really cute.
That's what I feel like.
Highland cow.
Yeah, like I'm big and I'm fluffy and I'm happy and I'm just like, good. What does your gender feel like?
I feel like a laying down cactus. I don't feel like I'm dead ass in the middle.
Yeah.
I'm a flowering cactus, but I definitely feel like kind of an awkward cactus.
Yeah.
Right now. What was your win for this week?
My win for this week was, can I say it snowed?
Yeah.
Yeah, it snowed. And I got home safely.
Period.
And I had the patience. Y'all, I was stuck at like between 3 traffic lights. It's like in a 1 block radius and it's just like 3 traffic lights. And I was stuck there for over 30 minutes. And to not be mad impatient, but instead to just be like grooving and happy, like just in this like bubble, and to feel like grateful that like I was like safe, and like a lot of people aren't that fortunate, was like a major win, because usually I'm pretty impatient while driving.
Yeah.
And to just be like, oh my God, that's it. And then the skill set of like being able to drive without fucking studded tires on ice was pretty dope. Good job, Lola.
Fuck yeah. You fucking crushed it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
What was your win?
My win for this week was last night I let myself draw instead of work on work.
She forgets that drawing is working on work.
Well, I drew for me, though. You know what I mean? It's way different when I get to draw for me.
That's true.
If I'm like passionate about it, a lot of the times, like, it's hard for me to set aside like a few hours where I just get to listen to EDM music and then just fucking draw. You know what I mean? And just let everything flow out of me. And I've been working on this piece, and I had to like ask you, I'm like, it's okay that I paint, and you're like, dude, do whatever, so long as you're doing it for fun. Like you don't have to. And for me, that's also love, is that external validation of like, you don't have to work right now.
Yeah.
Like you're good. Just
I think that's one of my
fun.
favorite things about our relationship is I require a lot of external validation. And I also like to give a lot of external validation. And you are also really good about like giving me a lot of external validation.
Good, I'm glad.
Which I need a lot of because like we are both still recovering from like
people pleasing,
yes,
and from like traumatic backgrounds and all of that. Because something that you posted the other day that really spoke to me was we don't get this negative self-talk from ourselves.
Yeah,
that is taught, and to undo the work of all of that is just a very beautiful, painful process. So, anyways, Happy New Year's, you guys.
Yes, Happy New Year's, and we will see you back next week, which will be my motherfucking birthday.
Let us know what love is to you.
Yes, I would love to know.
All right, y'all.
Okay.
Have a wonderful day.
We love you. Bye.
Adios.